Hi guys, welcome back to our functional text lessons. This is the second lesson on On Tuesday, I shared a lesson with you about what functional texts are, and we looked through a few different slides. I'm going to go ahead and go through those right now again, just really quickly. So remember that a functional text is a nonfiction text that helps people with everyday things, helps them know how to do things. So street signs are considered a functional text. Maps could be a functional text. Menus, recipes, that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today, are recipes as a functional text. Game rules and directions. There's lots and lots of different kinds of functional text. Hopefully you've been finding some pretty cool examples with your functional text hunts. What I want to talk to you about today, though, are recipes. Before I do, though, I'm going to pause for a minute. Usually at the beginning of making mini lessons in school, the teacher will ask you something like, what are you going to do to take responsibility for your learning today? Or what are you going to do to be respectful as a learner today? So I'm going to ask you something kind of like that, but it's the home learning version. So I know that my daughter, Junie, has been watching a lot of lessons on video, and I've been watching them with her. And I've been watching other people's lessons on video to get an idea of what I might be teaching. And I have noticed that it's really easy to zone out during these lessons and during these videos. It's really easy to be like, I'm going to pay attention to this thing over here, or I'm going to check my email on my phone, or I'm going to look out the window, or I'm going to go get a snack, or I'm going to go see what my brother or sister is doing. It's very, very easy to stop paying attention to the lesson on video and get distracted by something else. And then what I realize when I do that is that I get through the video and I actually have no idea what I was supposed to learn. I didn't really learn anything. So it is important, even when we're at home and even when we're watching lessons on a screen, to really think about what we're going to do to stay focused and to do our best learning from that lesson. So I would like you to take a moment right now and just think to yourself, what are you going to do to stay focused on this lesson today and really do your best with your learning? So I thought about it a little bit too while you were thinking. And what I was thinking is that something I'm going to do next time, because I'm teaching this lesson, I don't really need to work hard to stay focused. But the next time I'm watching a lesson with my daughter, I'm going to make sure that all my other electronic devices are out of my reach so I can't get distracted by them. And that I'm not opening any other windows on the screen while I'm watching the lesson. So that's something that I could do next time I watch a video to really stay focused. And maybe you thought of that, maybe you thought of something different. But I'll check in with you at the end of the lesson to see how you think you did with really staying focused during this lesson. Okay, let's get to it. So today we're going to look at two different recipes. Recipes are sets of directions for making food. They're kind of my favorite type of functional text because I love following recipes. So I'm going to show you one recipe, and it's from a book called Mama Panya's Pancakes. This is a book that's available on Epic. So if you want to actually read the story that goes along with the recipe, you could do that after this. It is a village tale from Kenya, and I'll just read the summary here. It says, on market day, Mama Panya's son, Adika, invites everyone he sees to a pancake dinner. How will Mama Panya ever feed them all? So in the book, you see some different scenes from Kenya, which is where the story takes place, and some different characters. And Adika is inviting a whole bunch of different characters to come have dinner. And so the mama is trying to figure out how she's going to feed all of these people. But they gather some ingredients, and then people arrive, and they end up having enough food because they make Mama Panya's pancakes. So this is the recipe at the end of the book. So I'm going to read through this recipe. And as I do, Think about whether you think this recipe would be easy to follow and why or why not. All right. Mama Panya's pancakes. Pancakes are eaten all around the world. They have different names in different countries. Here are a few examples. Bannocks, Scotland; chapati, India; crepes, France; baobing, China; bellinis, Russia; dadar gutong, Indonesia; kataif, Egypt; arepas, Chile; tortillas, and Mexico. Many Kenyans like to wrap food inside thin pancakes. Would you like to try Mama Panya's pancakes? Here's a recipe that you can make at home. Ingredients: makes about 6 pancakes. 1¼ cups, in parentheses 115 to 170 grams of plain flour, 2 cups, 500 milliliters of cold water, 1/3 cup, 5 tablespoons of vegetable or sunflower oil, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom, or nutmeg will do, 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes crushed. Instructions: in a bowl, mix all the ingredients with a fork. Preheat a non-stick pan. No oil is needed, at a medium to low setting. Ladle 1/4 cup of batter into the middle of the pan. Tilt the pan to spread the batter to about the size of a grapefruit. Cook until you see tiny bubbles in the pancake, then gently flip it over. When the second side begins to pop up from the heat, the pancake is ready. Serving suggestions: you can fill your pancake with jam or something sweet, or tuna salad for something different. In fact, almost any filling will do. Simply roll up and eat. Okay, that made me hungry. So think to yourself for a minute, do you think this recipe would be easy to follow? Why or why not? Okay, so if you're like me, you're thinking, yeah, this recipe would be pretty easy to follow because it lists all of the ingredients really clearly at the beginning and all the ingredients are together. Another reason why it would be easy to follow is because it tells you exactly how much of each ingredient you need, and it even tells you in cups and tablespoons and teaspoons, and it also tells you in grams and milliliters. And then another reason that it would be easy to follow is that each direction is one clear sentence. Also, I'm noticing that the titles here, like ingredients, instructions, serving suggestions, that those are really clearly labeled and they're in 3 different sections. So what we just named are a few text features of recipes. So I'm going to add them onto our text features list. One is that we've got titles for each different section. Another is that another text feature is that it shows the amount of each ingredient. And I like that there's a little picture here too. Okay, so now I'm going to look at a different recipe. And for this next recipe, I also want you to be thinking about what makes this recipe easy to follow or not easy to follow. And also, how is this recipe similar to or different from the Mama Panya's pancakes recipe? So this is a bellini, which the last book said is a version of pancakes that are made in Russia. So I'm going to read this. Make bellini. Make Russian pancakes. Be sure to get an adult to help. Ingredients: 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon of white sugar, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup all-purpose flour. Oh my gosh. 2½ cups of milk, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and 1 tablespoon of butter. Directions: in a medium bowl, whisk the eggs, sugar, and salt. 2. Sift the flour into the bowl. Stir in the milk. Mix until the batter is thin. 3. Heat a griddle over medium heat. Lightly oil the griddle. 4. Pour 2 tablespoons of batter into the pan. Tilt the pan to spread the batter. 5. When the edges look crisp and the center looks dry, slide a spatula under the bellini. 6. Flip and cook on the other side until lightly browned. 7. Put bellini on a plate. Stack the bellini on top of each other. Put the butter on top. 8. Take a bellini, spread with jam, and fold in half 2 times to make a triangle. Enjoy. Oh my gosh, that sounds so yummy. Now I'm really, really hungry. Okay, so stop and think for a moment. You can pause the video if you need some think time. Do you think this recipe would be easy to follow? Why or why not? All right. So I was thinking about it also. And if you're like me, you're thinking something that makes this recipe easy to follow is, first of all, the picture. I like that there's a picture because it shows me what the bellini should look like when it's done, once I've cooked it. So I'm going to add picture or photograph to the text features I notice. That makes it easy to follow. Another thing I noticed that I really like about this recipe is that the steps are numbered. It says step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So there are numbered steps. Can you imagine if the steps were out of order? Like, the numbering really helps show which you're supposed to follow next. Can you imagine if, like, you missed a number or you weren't sure which one you were on, so you followed the wrong direction in the wrong order? You could really end up with some yucky food that way, or a kitchen disaster, which is no good. So those are 2 things I noticed that really made this recipe easy to follow. I want you to stop and think about this for a minute also. How is this recipe like the last recipe that we looked at? And how is this recipe different from the last recipe that we looked at? So I noticed a couple similarities and differences. Similarities were that they're both a type of pancake. I also noticed that each of the recipes had like a little description before the recipe was given and the ingredients were given. And I also noticed that both recipes have an ingredients list and then the directions after that. So the ingredients list and then the instructions or directions after that. But some differences were those text features I talked about. So there's a photo for this one that shows what the pancakes should look like. And there were some numbers for this one that show the order that the steps should go in. This one has serving suggestions at the end, which this one doesn't really have a separate serving suggestions section. So those are some important differences and similarities that I noticed. Okay, so that was really fun for me to look at recipes and to kind of want to make both of these now to see how they turn out. What I would like you to do for our next class meeting on Tuesday is to find a recipe and try to make it with your family. And then be ready to share about that recipe at our class meeting. Tell us what the recipe was, what it was like to make the recipe, and why you chose that recipe and where the recipe came from. And then if you can take a picture of the recipe and send it to me, then I can put together like a digital recipe book to send out to the class. Okay, and make sure you're noticing those text features as you follow the recipes. If you go to Epic, there I will send you a new collection of recipe books that are available on Epic. So if you don't have cookbooks that you want to use at home or you don't have recipes easily available to you, then you can go to that recipe books collection that I send you. Okay, have so much fun. Thanks for learning about recipes and their text features with me. And see you next time. Can't wait to see what recipe you make. Bye, guys.